Hello, all of you beautiful beings of light. Welcome to another episode. Today, I am here with Lance Schuttler. He's going to be talking to us about holistic nutrition and some of these new technologies that he's going to be sharing with us. I got them in the mail, so I'm really excited for him to explain to me what they are. And so he's going to be coming in and talking about all that. Before I bring him in, I just wanted to let you know, for all of you that are new to the show, who I am. I am Victoria. I am an embodied angel, and I am the Elohim of Freedom. I'm the author of 4 books. I also do spiritual counseling, and I have a couple of classes. You can learn more about me at victoriareynolds.com. I also have a free book over there if you want to pick that up. And if you have issues picking it up, it's only because my autoresponder is not working. So if it doesn't work for you, shoot me an email and I will make sure that you get the free book. And so now I'm going to bring in my guest. Oh, and before I do, don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. I tend to forget to have people do that, but comment, like, share, and subscribe, because this is how we make a difference in the world. If you are inspired by what you see here, please share it forward to others you think might be inspired by it. And if you feel inspired, I do also gratefully receive love offerings. And there's a link for being able to tip me in my tip jar. It's a fun way to put it, in the comments below, or in the description below. And so now I'm going to bring in Lance, and we are going to talk about holistic nutrition and some of these new healing technologies that are available for humanity right now. We're moving into an extraordinary time where we have the ability to heal our bodies in the way they were intended to be healed. And he has some really cool products. So let's bring in Lance. Good morning, Lance. It's so great to meet you.
Hey, Victoria, you as well. Thank you. That's quite an introduction, and a beautiful one too.
Thank you. And I know you gave me a written bio, but I don't really read them.
No, it's perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. So it's nice to finally meet you. And I've been shooting emails back and forth the last couple of weeks. We're finally able to coordinate a time and place to meet. And you sent me some really fun things in the mail that I'm excited to learn about. So I'm going to just show people really quick what I got here, and you can tell me what they are. I have something called a EMF Performance Wristband. No, looks kind of like a watch, but obviously it's better than a watch. Let's see, computer strips, body relief patch. Now these are pretty cool. I tend to have some sore muscles in the morning, so I'm going to see what I can do with these. I don't know why. Some mornings I wake up with really sore shoulders, and there's no explanation for it. And then I have a cell phone protection disc, and I'm really curious to see why this is different than the other discs. So I have a cell phone, I have little discs on my phone and on my computer and on my kids' computers. So I'm curious to see why this is different than the other ones that I have. And there's so many people out there. Oh, this is so funny. This is the word that's coming in. All these people out there that are pimping EMF technology. So I want to know why yours is different and why it's better. And so before we get into the actual products, tell me a little bit about, who you are, the service you're providing the world, and then how it is that you got into this kind of work. Because I think the story is always really important for people to understand what it is that caused you to move out of your traditional working environment now to doing what you're doing as a benefit, and you're being a beneficial presence on the planet. How it is that you're making a difference in the world, and why.
Yeah, thanks, Victoria. So 13 years ago, coming up on 14 years ago, I had a family member who took his life, and it was, obviously a very traumatic situation for me, but a lot happened at that time, and it really, that moment and that time sparked for me a quest and a search for meaning for my life, and to also try to help people to not go through suffering, because I saw what a person's mind can go through in suffering. We all suffer in different ways, or we have suffered in different ways, and I saw that happen firsthand, and it really obviously impacted me in a bunch of different ways. But I decided really that I wanted to use that experience for good and to really try to understand why that happened and how I could help others not go through that. And also, help myself to heal from that situation too. So it really started a deep quest for me for meaning and purpose. And I started asking a lot of, difficult questions for myself. And, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I actually doing here? We know we're not here to just pay bills, eat, sleep, and die. We're here for so many other bigger purposes. And um, that really just started sparking things for me. And so it was my freshman year in college when this happened. And,
Mm.
um, I had a great support system with my family and friends. But as you know, our work, we have to do ourselves. We can, of course, get tremendous support and love from others, but at the end of the day, we have to do it ourselves. And so um, I just started seeking a lot of different solutions and answers. And it really started coming around to health and wellness and tying that into spirituality. So I grew up playing all sports. I was very fit and active in high school and like had a lot of friends doing all that fun stuff. When I got to college, I started taking exercise and nutrition a little bit more serious. And then when this situation happened, it kind of sparked a new awakening for me of, okay, the physical health is important, clearly, and is an aspect of health, but there's something more. And that was really when kind of my spiritual awakening started to begin. And I just started reading as much as I could about a lot of different topics, vibrational medicine, essential oils, flower essences, aromatherapy, all these different beautiful therapies to help the soul. And so I just really started going down a lot of rabbit holes and self-experimenting, talking with people, reading different research papers and books from, great minds who have really been able to help people. So that's sort of where things began. And I ended up graduating with a degree in health science from the University of Iowa. And from there, I started working in the natural foods and natural products industry and became a health coach and started doing that for a little while and really liked it as my own business. But I knew that, doing the health coaching for myself at that time wasn't like the ultimate calling for me. So I started working as a rep for different supplement companies and as a vitamin manager, and then as a health coach for a different company. And from there, just, my awakening just has continued to grow and expand. And I really started to understand how the science and the spirituality really are the same thing, just two sides of the same coin, and they're very synergistic. And we should be looking at them in their respective categories, but also, in the different lens. So we can look at spirituality from a scientific perspective. We can look at science from a spirituality perspective, because again, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, that's the short answer of it. And ultimately, it's just really trying to help people. And, first and foremost, it does, I really believe, begin with ourselves. Like, we have to heal ourselves. And it's a process, of course, and we're all still doing it, but begin with ourselves and try to become as whole and happy and healthy as we can so that we can really help others. And that's what I've been doing. And just bringing out a lot of new information and sharing things. So I've written 250 plus articles on a wide range of topics: science, spirituality, health, wellness, politics, exopolitics, finance, things like that. So I've just tried to grab topics from a wide range of interests of mine and see how it all kind of ties together.
And you know what's interesting about all of those is that when it comes right down to all of it, it's all spirituality.
Absolutely.
There isn't anything that isn't spirituality. So even, when I talk to people about trauma, that that all of our traumas, mental, emotional, physical traumas, they're actually spiritual related. So if you can heal the spiritual connection, then you can heal everything else. It can all be healed through spirituality. And I love what you were saying about spirituality and science. I've been saying for years that science is actually closer to spirituality than religion is.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. I love science. Like I dig it.
Totally. There's
Especially when you can see how it weaves so beautifully with spirituality and how they prove each other.
Yes, absolutely. Have you heard of the book, and you've probably read it, Vibrational Medicine by, I believe his name is Dr. Michael Gerber, or Dr. Gerber?
I haven't read it, but I do know of it. Yes.
Okay, yes, that book was really instrumental for me in what you just said of
Mhm.
everything is spirituality and science is part of it. So when I read that book, he talked a lot about the chakras, the auras, crystals, flower essences, essential oils, different herbs, and he was explaining, the deep science of it. And for me, that it just really just clicked so many different things for me. Of wow, it all makes sense. Like
Mhm.
it really is spirit at the basis of this, and the physical world is just the manifestation of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think about spirit as synonymous with energy. So if people can grasp that spirit is energy, so and I've used this analogy before. When you talk about a high spirited horse, that horse is by no means religious, right? It just means it's a horse that has a lot of energy. So if we can grasp that spirit is energy, then we can start to see how beautifully we can use it to make this human experience so much more beautiful, because it was that and I don't know why I'm even going on religion, except that one of the reasons I know I'm here is to get people to grasp that religion and spirituality are two very different things, and that one way that we can have direct connection to spirit rather than going through all of these rules that we've been told we have to play in order to reconnect to the energetic essence that we actually already are. So, and then the other author that's really good that talks about that too is Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Yes.
He's kind of come out of the not the woodwork, because he came out with his most recent book, I want to say about 5 years ago, about epigenetics and how our beliefs actually create disease. And he was so poo-pooed when that book first came out. And I think people are finally starting to get, oh, he's actually right. So it was just one of those ideas that was way ahead of its time, but now it's finally starting to be grasped.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I've read two of his books and I know what you're talking about. And his books were also very instrumental in my process because, I came from the scientific background, but I was never, atheist or never like, hardcore left analytical mind. I mean, I of course appreciated that, but I've always been open-minded in my
Mhm.
view. And that information, the epigenetic stuff, was so profound, and the molecules of emotion from Candace Pert, and all that stuff. It makes so much sense, and it would actually bother me sometimes of when people would poo-poo them and put them down, because it's like, guys, how can you not see this? This is very basic stuff. I mean, of course, it's advanced in some ways, but it's also very basic. How how, how are you not seeing this? But I've moved past the need to try to validate and prove these things to people,
Mhm.
because we know we're all going through our own process, and we all have to come to our own conclusions and decisions in the right time.
Right. Right. It's I say all the time, no one awakens before their time, right? So everybody wakes up when their time is right. And so we just put the information out there, and when people are ready, they'll receive it. The old, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, the teacher's always been there. It's just that the student has been ready.
Absolutely. So you said something earlier about trauma, Victoria, and that this is something that I've really been passionate about learning, applying to myself, and also trying to help others with and get out into the world. And specifically, it's about flower essences and essential oils. And, with my companies, I don't sell flower essences or essential oils, but I really believe it's part of my purpose to get the information about those two therapies out to the world. And I've written some articles on the combination of those therapies, and I really believe that we're going to see more and more therapists and healers and psychoanalysis sort of therapies utilizing the essential oils with aromatherapy and flower essences, because, as you know, they're dealing with the trauma at the root level.
Right.
We can take any sort of pharmaceutical, maybe to cover up some symptoms. I mean, I definitely don't suggest that in general. Of course, there's certain situations for certain people where things might be warranted, but I really believe that those are the real medicines, because
Right.
it's not going to do any good, as you know, just covering up, suppressing those feelings and that trauma. We have to bring it out, and the flower essences and aromatherapy allow the limbic system of the brain
Mm-hmm.
to open up in a way to where you can process those heavy emotions or those past experiences without being as emotionally involved or triggered, or um, going through that in a sort of way. We're able to relive those in more of a balanced therapeutic way where we can work through it literally.
Yeah, and thank you for that reminder, because I tend to forget to teach that to my students. I have, like, I don't know. I have so many of these things sitting around my house,
Same.
these different things. And and I tend to forget when I'm teaching my classes and my students that they are a part of my everyday experience. And
Absolutely.
I have my essential oils in my diffuser in my living room. I have it in my diffuser on my desk. I have my candles going all the time. And my music. I have this, really soft, relaxing music playing all the time. So the traumas, when they do come up, aren't really that traumatic, because I'm surrounding myself with other things that nature has provided to help me process whatever it is that needs to be processed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had completely forgotten that. Thank you. I got to remember to put that back into my classes when I'm teaching my students of get these essential oils, and yeah, and I think I'll put a link also to all of your products in the description below, and I'll also put a link in the description below to the essential oils that I use, so people know how to find them. My
Yeah.
favorite one is the one I put in my bathtub. It feels like I'm in the spa every time I take a bath, because it's such a.
Which one is it?
This one's Mantra.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Which ones are in it?
I'm not quite sure what's in that particular blend without me having to look it up, but
Yeah. No.
I'm sure it's lavender and bergamot and sage. And
Yeah.
probably not clary sage, though, because I know clary sage you're not supposed to use when you're pregnant, so they don't really, that gets used on a very limited basis for people, just because it can be unhealthy if you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I'll have to look at it, because whatever's in it, oh man, it just smells so good. It just
That's
takes
amazing.
whole, like, another place of bliss when I'm using that particular product. And then it's interesting, because I just tune in every morning and I ask myself what scents I need for the day, and I'll get like a checklist, because I'm very, very intuitive. I will know what I need to put in my diffusers just by listening. Yeah, one of my favorite combinations is peppermint and lemon. I don't know why, or peppermint and orange. They sound like such a strange thing to put together, but for some reason my senses really like that combination.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And
With
then it depends, if I'm battling a bug, then sometimes my body will say that it wants cloves and cinnamon, or something completely different. So for me, it's listening to what my body is telling me it wants.
Yeah, absolutely. I recently came across a practice. It's like I don't know exactly what it's called, but basically aromatherapy for horses and animals, where the animals will actually, in this situation, it's for horses. This person I'm talking to, I think that you know her as well, um, but the animals will guide what essences they want to use. Uh,
Mm.
I haven't done this practice myself, so I only know a little bit, but the animals will basically convey in some way of, all right, this is the one that they want to use, or no, not this one. Very interesting.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With
And I don't know a lot about the flower essences. I've heard of them, but I haven't really used them. And the same thing with sound healing. I know when I've experienced sound healing that I really, really enjoy it, but I don't know that much about it. And I think we're really entering to an opportunity for people to use those need to actually be the first response to disease. Where right now people are going to the doctor and getting the medications and then turning to alternative therapies after traditional medicine isn't working, when we need to flip the script and go, okay, we're going to start with natural modalities. And if they don't work, then go to the doctor and get what the pharmaceutical company has to offer. But right now, that's kind of reversed. And so for me, what I really have come to is finding out, treating the root cause of the disease, because the pharmaceutical industry only treats the um, the effects, right? They only treat the symptoms, where these more natural modalities actually treat the cause.
right, right. The flower essences, it's very interesting because that in particular has really been a passion of mine. I actually worked for a flower essence company,
Mm,
and I'll just briefly explain the way it's made, because people will intuitively know how powerful this stuff is. So you take the flowers, and you can do different methods. So you can pick the flowers off the plant, or you can actually just dip the flowers into a plant, or into water. So what you want to do is you take as pure water as you can, hold it in a crystal bowl, and let's say you pick the flowers and you put the flowers in the crystal bowl, and you set it out in the sun for several hours. At least 4 hours is what is recommended. And the energy from the sun, those photons, will actually capture and carry the vibrational essence off the flower and structure it and encode it into the water, because we know water has memory and it stores information. It literally is just storing the frequencies of the flower into the crystalline structure of the water molecule. And then that information, if we take it in a dropper, is conveyed to the structured water within our bodies. And so it's like an instant communication of this beautiful high vibrational, literally energy from the flower into the water and then into us. And so Dr. Edward Bach, back in early 1900s, he was a medical doctor, and he started, going out into the fields and the prairies and just being with the plants and the flowers and nature. And he just started sort of intuitively doing this and started treating people for all sorts of different emotional issues, which then, as you know and you described, leads to the physical issues. So he was
right.
treating from the root of what's the emotional component that's leading to this physical issue, and let's see what happens. And I mean, he had tremendous success, and there's many practitioners who use them today. But there's some therapists who will use specifically the flower essences, and they state very clearly that it actually helps their patients to recall traumas and work through them in a way where they're not as where they don't shut down.
Right.
They can actually work through it. Um, and so one thing that we've been doing with the companies that I have is small portion of profits. We will buy flower essences and essential oils, and we've donated them to uh, a couple different organizations that are helping people who've survived the horrors of human trafficking.
Mm,
We know about all that stuff and the stuff that's involved with it. And as I've learned, the darkest of the dark with that, I've really wanted to try to help those people, because I could only imagine what that would be like to have to go through something like that. And I mean, pharmaceuticals are not going to help those people, as
No,
we talked about. Um,
no.
and the herbs, those are definitely going to help. Getting good food and nutrition and having a good stable environment, that's all clearly a very important role. But people in general, ourselves as well, we need to heal whatever the emotional component of that trauma is, and those flower essences can help a lot of people. So it's part of my mission to help specifically with that, and show and convey that flower essences and essential oils and the combination can help people who've gone through, arguably some of the darkest experiences that we could go through on this planet.
Right. That's wonderful that you're doing that. Yeah. I'd like to get that information from you so that I know where to contribute as well. I've been wondering how to help with that. So I
Yeah.
do spiritual, what I call spiritual, not necessarily healing, I guess, because I can't technically say that I spiritually heal people. Although, I have a background in spiritual psychology, and that, it's like you were saying that all dis-ease eventually leads to disease. So we dis-ease is being out of a state of ease, which is where humanity is intended to be. And when we're out of a state of ease, that can actually cause physical disease. And so those flower essences and essential oils can help to bring people back to a state of ease, which then makes it easier for them to heal the physical issues. So if we treat everything, if we treat the emotional trauma, which is heart-based, if we treat the emotional body, then the physical body starts to become healed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that. I wasn't even expecting the conversation to go in the direction of flower essences, and I've been wanting to learn more about how they work. I was wondering if you just like drink a cup of water of this, flower energized water, but it sounds like it's just a couple of drops.
Yeah. And the flower essences, they're interesting because some people will respond immediately. Some people, it'll take weeks or months of use. It really is very individualistic.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, it's like I always tell people, every body is different. So, but what works for one person, like magic, might not work like magic for someone else. And so it's really important, more than anything, that we learn how to communicate and trust our own body for what's best for us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why for me, it's different essential oils every day. It's like I just kind of listen to what my body says at once and then give it what it wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do the same thing in my own different way. I've got several of them lined up in my little space where I do my personal work, and I'll do the same thing of, okay, what do I need right now? Sometimes I sniff all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes maybe just eucalyptus or helichrysum or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And our bodies will tell us. And I do that too. I take a bunch of them out and I'm just like, okay, I want that one. Yeah.
Got my robe right here that I keep by my side. To me, this is, for my body, this is like the ultimate. This really, really helps me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I have some different oil blends that I've been putting on different skin issues. And like, I just know, again, it's about what our body tells us it wants. So you also have something called Ascent Nutrition. And I know you do this EMF stuff that you sent me. So, and I haven't received my Ascent Nutrition products yet, so I can't really talk about their effect on me. But I would love to hear from you about that and about this Tesla Scalar technology that you use, because as we know, Tesla has really been in the vibrational field lately, let's put it that way. And the scalar technology that I know is being brought back to humanity. The the real source of energy I know is being restored to the human awareness. So tell me a little bit about these products and these technologies that you have.
Yeah, so I'll begin with the EMF Harmonized. So
And
I
those are the ones that you sent me, right?
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So yes, it's scalar wave technology, and it is based off Tesla's scalar wave technology. But stepping back a bit, and I'll get to this. I partnered with a scientist who worked at Texas Instruments and Nokia, and he led a team of scientists who they developed patents for 2G and 3G technologies back 12, 15 years ago. And um, he had been studying Tesla's scalar wave technology, and he found a way to add a slight little variation to it. And he doesn't claim that it's better than Tesla. It's a little bit different than what Tesla was doing. And so he and I became friends, and I was very interested in this. And so I had the idea, hey, we should start this company, and we should get this out to the world even more. And so it's been a year and a half, and we've done very well, and we've gotten it out to tens of thousands of customers, which I'm very thankful for. And what this is, you can see it's a hologram. I'm going to try to share right now, Victoria. I think that this would be a good time. Let's see. Okay, can you see this right now, Victoria?
I can now.
Okay, awesome. So this is the company EMF Harmonized, and you can see, I'll pull this up, the cell phone disc. So you can see this, that's actually a hologram. And what holograms do is they can store information. And so what we've done is we're able to take frequencies that we know are beneficial to human health, and we get these frequencies in nature. So as an example, let's say the curcumin compound found in turmeric, that the molecular structure of curcumin or any other compound, it has a geometry. And because it's a geometry, there's a frequency that can be measured off of that. Okay. Excuse me. And so we're literally capturing the energetic frequency of, let's say, curcumin. And we can take that, and then with these scalar waves, we can program it into these holograms. And what we've shown is that we're actually able to influence biology around us. So human biology, pets, we've done it with plants as well. I'll back up here and show you one of the tests that we've done, one of the studies. I'm not going to play this whole thing, but I'll just kind of let it roll a little bit. Basically, what we have done is we can take these discs and we'll put it on a cell phone, and we can show that red and white blood cells, when they're exposed to EMFs, they will start clumping together. And so they lose their ability to carry oxygen and do what they normally do, which is just function at a normal, healthy capacity. EMFs, these electromagnetic frequencies, the harmful ones, they cause the cells to lose their negative electrical charge on the membrane, and so they start clumping together. Our technology actually allows the cells to regain their negative electrical charge. And so in time, in this video, you can see they start declumping or separating again. They're literally regaining that charge that they need to separate and to be healthy and do what they need to do, which is circulate blood, nutrients, and oxygen. So, that's just one of the studies we have, but it's really amazing stuff in how frequencies can interact with us. There's one study in particular from this man. He's passed over now, but Martin Blank, he was a PhD scientist in a few different fields, and he showed that DNA acts as a fractal antenna. So what that means is it's picking up on all the different frequencies around us, and the DNA then conveys to the cells, okay, how do I respond? If there's beneficial frequencies like good sunlight, we know the body responds well. If we're encased in harmful EMFs, like from cell phones, computers, then their cells respond in those negative ways that aren't beneficial to us. Yes. So this is, very interesting stuff. We also have a thermography study for the body relief patches. You had talked about those earlier. So what we do with those is we'll just take different frequencies and we program it into those mylar patches, and it will literally then transmit those beneficial frequencies into or on the body, and the body responds in a particular way. I'll show this one again real quick. Okay, so with these patches, Victoria, we were able to show, I don't have the video pulled up here at the moment, but you can see that this is a little image, and we're actually able to show in a time-lapse video of about 15-20 minutes of the red, which is inflammation, transforming to the green. Now, this is not to say that every single person is going to feel the relief or feel the effects, but I can authentically state that we have, a very high success rate. And we've got people who've written in comments that like literally humble me to my core. Because it is profound. I mean, there's one that I can share. I won't share the person's name, obviously, but this person had been has the condition of TMG, I believe. It's basically a nervous system condition where the pain gets so excruciating and it'll go up into someone's face, where they actually call this the suicide disease, because the pain for these people is so profound that many of them just end up taking their own lives. This person wrote us, this was just a couple weeks ago, and said that she put on a patch and she didn't have any pain for 48 hours. And then after about 48 hours, the patch started to wear, and the pain started coming back. But she did it again after that and waited a few hours. Pain started subsiding again. We've had people who, like, some man tore his Achilles and he wasn't supposed to be able to even walk for something like 8 weeks. He had surgery or something. He wrote back and he said he was in the gym full on exercising 4 weeks later.
Wow.
Yeah. So, again, not everyone's going to feel these profound effects. Many people feel subtle or even, good level effects. Some do feel the profound effects, but the point is, it is doing something, and we can show it from a scientific level. And we've got the anecdotal evidence of, hey, people are telling us that it's just simply working.
Wow.
Yeah. So
I'm really excited to put that on and see.
Yeah. And I hope that you're someone who experiences the profound effects of it, because
some days my back pain's pretty gnarly, my shoulder pain, to the point where I've had to go to the doctor and get shots in my neck and shoulders to relieve the pain.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's actually from an accident I had when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And just as I've gotten older, I got to the point a couple of years ago where I couldn't even turn my head at all. So I found a doctor that has been helping me with my neck. It radiates down my shoulders. So I'm really curious to see if this helps with the pain and mobility, so I don't have to go get shots in my back every month or so. That would be nice.
Yeah. I hope that for you. So, with the EMFs, I've just been interested in Tesla for so long, and I was really happy to come across this technology and partner with the scientist who, knows of this stuff and was able to bring this out. And it's just been a blessing, and we've helped a lot of people, and I've learned so much in this process about EMFs. And I mean, we could do a whole show about that because there's just so much information. People, the mainstream says there's no evidence. It's not that harmful. It's not conclusive. But as you know, Victoria, like they can word things in such really like manipulative ways where like you can prove anything you want or disprove anything you want based on A, either how you set up a study, or B, how you word it. And that is just it's malicious intent, and it's not not cool.
Absolutely. And, I have a medical background as well. And I was looking into paying for a study to prove some of my own modalities. And that's when I found out how medical studies are actually done. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Yeah. So whoever's paying for the study can tweak the information to prove whatever it is that they're trying to prove.
Yep. Yeah. I remember that's a really interesting story. I don't have quite as a profound one, but I remember distinctly when I was in college, it was in a biology class, and we were in lab, and we needed to write, a research paper and show why this was working. It was something like that with this test we were doing. And the thought came to me, well, I could just, spin this if I wanted to prove something else. I mean, that wasn't the point of it. And I wasn't going to do it because we needed to write it in a certain way. But it became clear to me at that point that, okay, this is very easily manipulated, and I'm sure they're doing it. And then, I started going down the rabbit hole and really learning, what they are doing with that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can spin any of that research to support whatever it is that you're trying to support.
Right.
Yeah. So the studies are done. The studies are for real. It's just how the information is compiled to spin it in the direction of whatever it is you're trying to promote. So,
Yeah.
not that we would do that here, right?
Right.
Because the whole purpose behind the work that you're doing is to always be in integrity with the work that you're doing, but not everybody holds themselves to that level of integrity.
Yeah, definitely. And that's, with the red blood cell test that we did, I'm fully aware that's not a human, placebo controlled clinical trial. I'm aware of that, but we're able to show, cells in real time responding to a disc that is, a few inches away from it. It's not physically touching it. So
Right.
there is something energetically happening, and something is going on. And to me, that's sometimes even more profound when you can see something like that.
Right. You can see what's actually going on inside of a person rather than their perception of how they're affected by it. Because perception is well, it's unique to the individual. I mean, that's when they do the double blind placebo studies, that's all based on perception and
Yeah.
whether somebody says they feel better or not,
Yeah.
or whether somebody feels like the product is working for them or not. And then they have to take the placebo effect into account, because a certain number of people that are taking the placebo will actually have the effect of the medication, and some people who've had the medication won't have this. Yeah. So it seems to me like actually looking at the blood is actually more accurate than a person's perception of whether something's working or not.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Because there's so many variables that can come into play when someone's saying, okay, do you feel better? How do you feel better? Why this? Why this?
Mhm.
A lot at play.
It could just be they're having a really bad day.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they feel better because they had a good breakfast. There could be any number of things that affect how a person feels at a particular time. Where if you're looking at the actual biology, you're getting real biological results.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing, kind of switching over to Ascent Nutrition and something that's going on right now. I mean, I'm sure you're aware and have heard of the information that's come out about pine needle tea in relation to respiratory health and immune health and things like that. We offer this pine pollen powder. We were talking about this before the show. I'll pull this up here. And you've got one of these jars coming, Victoria. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
I did buy myself some pine needle tea because I don't have the right kind of pine trees here. I have this massive, like 100-year-old pine tree out my window. And we were saying earlier that it's been windy, and every time the wind blows, I see this pollen like flowing through the air, big puffs of yellow through the air. But you said it doesn't, it's not just any pine pollen.
Yeah. Yeah. We use a couple different species, Ponderosa and Lodgepole, and we get this from Canada. So we're wild harvesting, wild crafting with respect to the land and nature. We're working with very good people, a couple naturopaths, and we're doing it the right way. And we also have a very unique extraction method involved. I'm going to pull up this little article. So I'll play this little clip. Can you see this clip, Victoria? Okay.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's a tree falling and the pine pollen dispersing, and with that comes 200 different bioactive nutrients that the body can use. And pine pollen is actually nature's highest source of these phytohormones. Excuse me. They're also called brassinosteroids, and they essentially mimic the effects of human hormones within our bodies. And so the body won't get used to it as one would with, let's say, like a synthetic testosterone or estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
It will just simply mimic the effects. They're almost identical in their structure, just slightly different. So it's beautiful the way that nature's created this. It's not going to overtax us or overburden us, but we actually share some of our DNA as humans in common with pine trees.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. And so, it's just amazing stuff. But, here at the Vatican, there's this beautiful fountain, Fontana della Pigna, symbolizing the pine cone. It also, I believe, represents the pineal gland. And there's a lot of different interpretations of that and what the Vatican knows and, how some of that information has been used. But nonetheless, it's also this pine pollen's nature's highest source of DHEA. And then I know a lot of people listening will know about this. It's called the lutein hormone, but it's also commonly used for happiness, mood, outlook, upliftment. And there's a study published in the Nature journal. You know this, one of the most respected journals. And the results of it, I won't read the whole thing, but essentially, with DHEA, the generation of negative emotions went down, and the activity in regions in the brain related to regulating like a healthy response to stress or difficult emotions goes up. So again, we're kind of able to process emotions in beneficial ways rather than harmful ways.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's DHEA is found in pine pollen, and pine pollen has nature's highest source of that DHEA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've taken it as a supplement before because it's basically like a youth hormone. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this photo, I kind of talked about our sourcing and the methods that we use. So we use an uncracked cell wall, and a lot of companies will use a cracked cell wall. And what that does is it will oxidize some of the compounds, and so it turns it brown, and that's not what we want. This stuff up here is our pine pollen, and you can just see the life force difference in this. I mean, the
lower one looks like it's gone rancid.
Yes, exactly. So that's what we do. And we also launched this algae oil product. This is a whole long story in and of itself, and this relates to quantum processing in the brain. But just very short, there's this neuroscientist in London. He published a paper back in 2012 relating to quantum theory and evolution and how it ties to DHA.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that DHA is actually more important than DNA itself, and that DHA has actually been calling the shots over DNA in terms of how biology evolves.
Okay.
So, I'm not saying that's an absolute fact, but his paper and the research he has behind it is very compelling. But we do know for a fact, for sure, that DHA is a structural component in the brain, the eyes, and the nervous system. And so getting enough DHA in the diet is like critically important for optimizing the brain, the eyes, the whole
Right.
cardiovascular system, so forth.
Yeah, and that has been backed by mainstream science as well. I know at least 10 years ago, because that's what was behind the whole push for salmon omegas. Right.
Yes.
We even have milk now. I was giving my kids years ago. I still do once in a while milk with DHA. And so I know that there's tons of evidence behind it, but you have a different kind of DHA that doesn't come from salmon or from shellfish.
Yeah. So we're getting it from the algae because the fish eat the algae. And so we're just going to the source of it. And
Okay.
yeah, it's cool because some people don't like fish. They don't like the taste,
Yeah, the taste of the omegas can be pretty
Yeah,
unpleasant for people that don't like fish.
definitely. So this is the taste of this stuff is very mild, but this DHA, like, it literally is so important, Victoria, that for us to even have this conversation, to talk, to speak, to think, to memorize, to recall, there's a lot of processes involved in the brain to make that happen, but DHA is the most fundamental aspect of that. If we
Okay.
don't have enough DHA, the brain isn't working at full capacity. They actually call it the master omega because it maximizes mental and cognitive speed. And it actually is conveying to the brain and nervous system the energy from the photons in the sun. So it's taking the light energy, transducing it, and then conveying that and turning it into an electrical signal.
Okay.
So it's quantum processing happening. But this scientist, he speaks of this. I'll just show it very briefly. With the pineal gland, DHA is actually very important for the rods and the cones in the physical eyes. And then in the pineal gland, it's actually been shown that neurogenesis, so new neurons, can be created in the pineal gland when there's enough DHA.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, very fascinating stuff. And lengthens telomeres. There's good studies showing that.
Okay.
Promoting a healthy inflammatory response. And then the last part of this that I'll talk about is quantum tunneling. So he explains this in a pretty cool way, that this quantum tunneling, the photons and those electrons, they're actually going through, let's say, this barrier, or this process of this tunneling. In classical physics, this shouldn't be happening.
Mm-hmm.
But even mainstream science has admitted that this is happening because they can see that it's happening, and they don't have another explanation for it. So sort of like, if you and I were standing here and there's a wall in between us, I shouldn't be able to walk through that wall and meet you on the other side. I should have to walk around it. But with this, it's like me passing through the wall and boom, there I am.
Oh, wow.
DHA is actually facilitating that quantum tunneling of those electrons. And this is, published in mainstream papers. They know it happens. They're just not, quite sure why or how.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a quick question about the pine product that you have.
Yeah.
And that is, now I grew up in Montana and we had lodgepole and ponderosa pines. And I was very allergic to the pollen. So what would you say is that just because I was breathing it in, and if I'm ingesting it in drops or in a powder, that's going to affect my body differently than if it was going through my sinuses?
Yeah, good question.
Because I know pollen allergies are really quite common, especially this time of year when it's floating in the air.
Right. In your situation, I obviously I don't know,
Okay.
but I would say if you have had allergies to it, I mean, with this jar that you've got coming, just be careful with it and just test a small amount.
I'll try it out. Yeah, I mean, the allergies weren't extreme, but I would get into it would look like a cold because it'd be sniffling and nothing that would knock me out or break me out in rashes or anything like that. But I would get a stuffy and sniffles and sometimes a headache from it.
Right. We haven't had really many people report any allergy side effects from this. I've actually kind of been surprised by, I mean, it's literally less than a handful. And we've sold several thousand of these. So, I mean, maybe some people have had it and they just haven't written in and told us, but
Mm.
it's been very small for what we've heard from people. But if someone does have allergies, I won't be surprised if it does trigger that. But
Okay.
for those specific species, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll let you know. I'll
Please.
try it. I'm always conducting scientific experiments on myself. So I'll let you know. And I run them like actual studies. I'll try it, see the effects, stop, try it again. Sometimes I'll do it a couple of different times so I can actually do a real study on myself to understand if this is helping me or if it's something else. And yeah, so I'll try it out and I'll let you know.
Yeah. Thanks, Victoria.
I don't have allergies nearly like I used to when I was younger, but
That's
if
good.
I do have an allergy, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Okay. And are there some other things you want to talk about? Are you going to start being the US distributor for the Resotone as well, right?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we won't necessarily get into that because I know there are shipping issues at the moment between the United States and Russia. So I'm fortunate that I got mine before that became an issue.
Same here. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully that will get cleaned up shortly.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here and for this really, really important information. I'm excited to give your products a try and then give you feedback on what I found out. I'm always looking for the things that my particular body responds to. And then, as I was saying on my last show, I don't promote other people's products unless I really genuinely believe that they're helping me because
Yeah.
I get products all the time to try. Some of them I haven't gotten anything out of, and some of them I get great things out of. So I didn't have a chance to try your stuff yet.
Yeah.
But thank you for sending me this stuff, and I have a good feeling about these. They're products that I definitely believe in. And yeah, I'll let you know what I find out, and maybe we'll do a follow-up call after I've used these, and I'll bring you back in again and let you know what I've discovered.
That'd be awesome. Thanks, Victoria.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes, this was a wonderful conversation. This is really what I love talking about, and it's my passion and what I'm here to do. And so thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. And then in the description, I would also love the information about the place that you're donating your proceeds to.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
And
I'll share the information with you privately. It's a crisis center, and I just have to be careful with the information that I give out.
okay.
It's a long story, but it's
Yeah. So share it with me privately, and I will share it privately with my audience.
yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
I
Thanks.
understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is how we have to do things these days.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. All of you who are watching, thank you for being here. And as I always say, remember to hold your light so high others can't help but see their own light. Together, we are creating a world of peace, love, harmony, freedom, and prosperity for all life on earth. And as always, get bold, be fearless, and live free.